Down in here I've got a double mini roll. I've also got a grab bag of quavers. Well, hello and welcome to another video, which is rare for me. I mean, this is 3 in quite quick succession. I think that's more videos in the last month than in the last 2 years. So anyway, welcome aboard. And as promised, advised what I might do, I've got a few cool little bikes over the last year or two, which I thought I would just show you, basically. So this is an Aprilia RSV Mille R. This is a 2002 bike. So it's the Gen 1, but it's kind of a Gen 1.2, which has got a slightly different tail, a little more mean sort of headlight. The original one was really sort of quite cute, I think, but this is a little bit more badass. I do have the standard exhaust, but I've just put it on because it sounds a bit nicer when we go for a ride. This example is pretty much totally standard, even down, I haven't cleaned it, sorry, even down to the original screen bolts, which is a nice sign. There's definitely a bit of patina and age-related authenticity, let's call it. But yeah, so she's definitely, you know, seen some miles. It's got 30,000 miles on it, but you know, it's pretty rare to find one of these with all the original bits. So yeah, generally it's pretty decent. So the RSVR came with Öhlins forks, Öhlins shock, the blue OZ wheels, Öhlins steering damper in there. The engine I think was the same as the standard Mille, the standard RSV Mille. And yeah, I mean, what can you get for around £4 these days, which has got Öhlins forks, Brembos, all the jizzy stuff, carbon fibre. I think they're pretty good value machines. Anyway, let's go for a ride. I'm not going anywhere particularly special. I'm hungry, so I think I'll probably go to Sainsbury's. But anyway, I thought I'd give you a little ride. Yeah, carbon hugger, carbon rear mudguard. What more do you want? Italian V-twin Exotica. Let's just hope it starts. Whoa, it's close. Yeah, the battery needs replacing. But it's a nice thundery twin. Just wait for it to warm up a little bit. So I've got quite a few of these bikes now. I've got this one, I've got 2 yellow ones, and I've got a race bike. Now the race bike, I did my first little shakedown test at Castle Combe the other day, and Jesus, these are fast bikes. Like, honestly, they're fast, their chassis is great. It's a great little cheap race bike, and I was really blown away with it. My race bike's got bigger throttle bodies, it's got quick shifters, it's got some other little tweaks, so I might try and dig it out and show you some footage of that. But yeah, it's coming from all the modern stuff, and I guess that's what the question is today. Are older bikes more enjoyable? We'll find this out as we go along today. But you know, for bang for buck, you know, this is 20 years old now, and it will keep up. If you're a decent rider, it will keep up with most people. It's particularly if you're going for a ride on the road, it'll keep up with most people, and it sounds great, it looks cool, and it's sort of authentic and a nice manual experience. So anyway, let us depart. Whee! See? Everyone loves it. Everyone's out today on their new modern super bikes, and I'm on my old piece of shit. It's not a piece of shit, it's wicked. And yeah, my race bike, I was so impressed. I've got one of these as a track bike, and I did a shakedown at Castle Combe the other day, and I was so impressed with how engaging, how fun, how fast it is to ride. And you've got all the components that you want, really. You've got decent forks, decent shock, decent brakes, great V-twin engine, it was mint. I mean, I reckon that bike was probably putting out 125 at the rear, probably something like that, which is it's perfect. It's perfect, particularly on the road. But yeah, I don't particularly like these tyres or trust them much. They've been on it a while. I think they're pretty old. But this is the first one I'll probably sell, just because it's the easier. I think it's probably going to be the easiest one. It's a black one. It's original. Whereas my yellow ones, well, it's yellow. People don't particularly like yellow. I think it looks better. But there we go. Who am I to judge? I mean, what's the fun of overtaking people on an S1000 that's got 210 brake horsepower? I mean, I know everyone has their own ideas of what bikes they want, and yeah, don't get me wrong, I love modern tech, I love it, it's wicked, but I've been fortunate enough to have access to a lot of it, and that's been brilliant. But these days I just prefer, I think I prefer the older stuff, because it's just more interesting. And yeah, 80 miles an hour on this feels like you're going really fast, but 80 miles an hour on a brand new superbike feels like you're going way too slow. And on a track, if you're chasing all out lap time, of course the new bike's going to be faster, it's going to be. But if you're chasing happiness, that's a different question. And I think obviously they have to be looked after and in good condition and they don't go wrong. But providing there's no mechanical faults if you go on a track day or out for a Sunday blast, I think you will be happier on an older bike. If you feel comfortable in yourself and you're not all about just wanking off because you've got the latest and greatest machinery. But that's more of a statement about yourself. If you're trying to impress other people and that's what you think will impress people, then it's up to you, I suppose. But I think this is it's certainly more. I find it more engaging, more memorable, more interesting. More people want to talk to you. Like if you've got a brand new V4S, I think people just think you're a bit of a knob. I mean, and your brand new £3,000 Den Easy airbag suit. I think it's just different. Whereas if you rock up to a little bike cafe on one of these, it's like, oh, I used to have one of those bloody brilliant things. Wish I never sold it. Whereas nobody wants to talk to you on a brand new 30 grand Ducati. Right, let's go and get some oh, it's a baby's dummy, a pacifier. And the other thing about old bikes is, let's assess how much food we can buy, because it all depends how much junk I can fit in my trunk. And I can fit quite a lot. There's the original Aprilia tool bag in there, so I could definitely get, in fact that should go in this slot here. Somebody's put it in the wrong hole. So yeah, I reckon I can get a fair few double bloody deckers in there. But I'm sorry, how cool does that look? I think it looks fucking awesome. Right, I'm going to turn off now because I've only got one battery with me, because I didn't really intend to come out. So I'll spare you the boredom of shopping. Okay, so a little demonstration. We've got a bacon and egg sandwich, which easily fits in there if you give it a bit of a squeeze. Down in here I've got a double mini roll. I've also got a grab bag of Quavers, and I mean, it's just cavernous. And then if that wasn't enough, you can actually, I only just figured this out. There's a little flap in here, and you can open it up, stick loads of stuff in there, loads of stuff. So, but I mean, I don't need to put it in there because I've already got enough space under here. Absolutely bloody cavernous. If I can figure out how to get the bonnet on. There we go. Look at that. Joyous. Right, let's go off somewhere. I've had sushi already. Full disclosure, I did also buy a pack of sushi, but it wouldn't fit. So I ate it. In fact, there it is. It was pretty disgusting. So I'm not missing out. And I didn't want it to spill everywhere inside there and have to clean up fucking a fishy bottom. Nobody likes a fishy bottom. So yeah, look, we'll just go for a little ride. As I said, I've only got one battery, so let's see where it takes us, and when it runs out we go home. Oh, gives me the chills. I can just feel it thumping at my perineum. Let's go on a road which was fantastic, and then the police came. In fact, knobbers came, crashed several times and tried to overtake everyone and were dicks, and now it's like a 40-50 mile an hour zone with solid white lines, so you can't overtake anything. But let's go there anyway. Ooh. Down in Wetherspoons. So a little carbon dash there, that's a nice thing to look at. Dash top. The throbbing Rotax 990 engine. These go on for hundreds of thousands of miles. They are rock solid. I think if there is anything, it's more like that's unreliable about these Aprilias that gives them a bad name. It's more like the electrics and the wiring and stuff, which, to be honest with you, if you look after the bike, there wouldn't be a problem. I think it's people who come back in the day, who came from Suzuki's and Japanese stuff, expecting to be able to treat it like complete shit and not servicing it properly and doing those things. I think those are the ones that have run into reliability issues. Same with MV Agusta. I've got a 20,000 mile MV Agusta, and it's never had to, well, I haven't ridden it for 3 years, but it never missed a beat. It was brilliant because the service intervals had been achieved and it was regularly maintained. So I don't think you have to worry too much with older bikes if they are maintained. I would definitely say if you are looking to buy an older bike, like something like this, I mean, I shouldn't really say this because I want to sell this bike, but I would definitely spend the extra 10, 15, 20% market value, the price hike, to get a well looked after, lower mileage one, because by the time you might buy like, oh, I've got a good deal on that one, but then you look at it, the shock's all shit, that's all you need, a new springs, it's all corroded, or you need new forks, get the fork seals done, it's all covered in shit. So I would definitely recommend getting a good one to start with and just pay the price for it. Don't stress out too much and like, oh, but this one's 500 quid cheaper. Honestly, the 500 quid is going to go like that. So just don't worry about it. Just get the good one. Is what I would say. Or, if you're not worried about mileage and stuff, which I'm not worried about mileage, I think higher mileage bikes are in some ways better, because you don't be like, oh, I won't take that to Switzerland this year because I don't want to put 2,000 miles on it. So you never ride them. But there's plenty power in this, plenty. With no aids, there's no ABS, there's no modes, there's no buttons that you think, you know, the modern bikes are fantastic, they're utterly brilliant. But the amount of times I ride one with, what do they call it? Fear of missing out, FOMO, thinking, oh, hang on, am I in the right mode for this particular road setup? Oh, it's got a bit bumpy, hang on, let me change the suspension, let me do this, let me do that. This is just go out. You can't fiddle with the fucking buttons because it doesn't have any. So just go out, man up, and just ride the fucking thing. And I really like that simplicity. And if it starts raining, just ride slower. Don't be a knob. Dash nobbled. But yeah, I think older bikes is where it's at, really, for me anyway. But then I'm turning into a bit of an old duffer, so I will just overtake. We're to wait for the solid white line to end for some stupid reason. I'll hide the camera over here, and that's it. Perfectly executed manoeuvre. And now we go to the 50 mile an hour zone. Brilliant. And again, you don't have to, if you're on a, I feel anyway, if I'm on a brand new superbike, I want to get the most out of it everywhere I go, and I want to go knee down everywhere and like, yeah, I'm really maximising my potential. Whereas the older bikes, I find I just enjoy the ride a bit more and don't worry too much about all that sort of stuff. You've got nothing to prove, I think. Not that you should have anything to prove anyway, but on the older metal, you definitely don't have anything to prove. And if you're on track and you do overtake some new stuff on your old 20-year-old bike, it feels fucking brilliant. And if you don't overtake anyone, you've got the excuse in your pocket, which is, sorry, my bike's shit and old. A sorted one of these, I reckon, is probably, depending on what circuit, 3 to 5 seconds at worst off the pace of a brand new RSV4. Genuinely, I think a sorted, and the money you could spend on this to get it closer to that, you've got so much more budget. I mean, let's say this is 4 grand, 4.5 grand, something like that. You, let me put my lights on actually, because these don't have automatic lights. You've got so much money to make it your own and do cool things to it. Put bigger throttle body kit on it, put a different exhaust setup on it, put different wheels on it perhaps, but then the wheels on this, you get everything you need with this bike, everything. I think it's a Gucci Italian thing, and I think it's cooler than Ducati in a way, because Ducati is just a bit Ferrari, isn't it? Like if you win the lottery, the default thing to do is just go and buy a Ferrari. Just remove this little polishing fluff, which has been annoying me. Right, well, incredibly annoyingly, I've had to just cut it short there, because I did the ride, did the whole video, went back, checked the footage, because actually the whole point of me doing this ride really is to check this camera, because it was a bit dodgy. It was on the fritz before I go to Italy tomorrow on a bike launch. So I got back to the office, checked it, and it's fucked. So I have to do it again. Where was I can't even remember. Something about Ferraris, I think. So yeah, I mean, I find these older bikes more engaging, they're cheaper. I think it's more of a challenge, I guess, so that's why it's engaging. It's cooler to look at, arguably, depending on what you like, and it's just different, isn't it? I think it's more unique, and I think you can, I don't know, I think you can bond with an older bike a bit better as well. It's less robotic. Another pro for the older bike is they tend to be a bit bigger. Like, this is actually quite a roomy bike. I find it quite a roomy bike. Whereas again, the new, like, it's much bigger than my RSV4, much bigger. I mean, the question of whether it's better or not, it's a difficult question, because better is subjective in so many different people's eyes. But I guess I'll summarise before the camera fucks up again and just say that even if it's not better, it's still a really close decision, it's still a close choice, and I don't think you should be scared of buying an older bike. Just make sure the history's right, and you should have years and years of enjoyment. And not forgetting, of course, this car's going so slowly it feels like it's going to turn. Is it going to turn? Not forgetting that you might buy this bike for 4 grand, and in 2 years, 3 years time it might be worth 5 grand. So that's pretty cool as well. Let's try and see if we're free. Yeah, let's just do it. I mean, you certainly don't need to go any quicker than that on a public road, so they're definitely fast enough. Yeah, I don't know what else to say really. I'm waxing lyrical about it a bit too much perhaps, so anyway, you go and make your own minds up, and go and try and play with an older bike and see how it makes you feel. At least take a couple out for a test ride. You know, it's the summer now, we've got fun times ahead of us, at least 3 or 4 months of faffery on motorcycles, so that can only be a good thing. Right, let's pop into Lumi's cafe, shall we? And test the theory if people come and talk to you with an older bike or not. Let's test it. Let's do it. I get so anxious turning up at bike meets, bike cafes, because everyone looks at you when you go in, don't you? And you're just like, oh my god, don't stall it, don't drop it, oh my god. I once crashed my brand new Fireblade about 50 yards outside the Ace Cafe in London, and I've never picked a bike up quicker. Let's just put it right on the end here, shall we? Let's put it here. Well, there we go. My theory was completely wrong. Not one person talked to me. So yeah. So that's that theory out the window. Anyway, I wish you all a good day. Sayonara. No, hang on, that's Japanese. What's Italian for goodbye? Ciao? Arrivederci. Is that it?